Yo, soft words and harsh truths. You got issues, I got issues, we all do. So free yourself, a safe space for your concerns. We got things to learn, habits to unlearn. Always deconstructing and reconstructing. Can you see the beauty that's in destruction? If there's an end, the new beginning's coming. Nothing comes easy, does it? You gotta really want it. Soft words and harsh truths. You got issues, I got issues, we all do.
Oh my goodness. I am so glad that I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, hold on. I was in the wrong spot. It would have to happen that way. I like, if it's not messing up, it's not fun, right?
This is true. This is why we do lives. Me and DC, we love doing our live show. So,
but it's kind of fun. Now we
makes
have like an insider, and I'm learning. It's awesome. I am very new to all of this. So, and my dogs are very aggressive. Welcome to Healing Out Loud, Unhinged While Anchored. I am your host, Goddess. I am with the Papa Bear of the Blurred community, Chris Fury of Blurred's Eye View. How are you tonight, Papa Bear?
I am doing amazing. I spoke it before. I'm getting used to this Papa Bear stuff. I like this. Don't be surprised if I'm doing this on my own show. I'm like, hey, got a new moniker besides the man on the wall now.
Absolutely. I will promote it 100%. For those who don't know, Chris is a Blurred, which is a Black nerd. And so he is very into all things nerdy, including comic books. And I'm going to be honest, not my bag. I've tried.
It's okay.
Sometimes I can get caught up if they write the story. Like I'm big into Marvel. I can get caught in there because there's a human point storyline.
Yes.
So I can anchor to that. But if it's just a comic book, except for Spider-Man, the new the one with the little boy.
Yeah, Miles. Yeah.
I like that because it has that slip into the comic book piece, but it's written in the real world, and it's, so I can get into that, so I'm not a lost cause. I'm not a complete lost cause.
You know your way in the pool. That's all that matters.
Right. So, well, I am excited because I do have a part of me that is very, very nerdy. I'm mixed, so I can't really be a blurred.
Oh, you're blurred.
I'm a blurred.
You're blurred.
So I love to watch Disney movies and I love to see the human element in it, and I associate it to my own life. In many cases, it's taught me a lot of life lessons. It's given me a lot of eye-opening mentalities as it relates to society. Right. And so I'm excited to kind of chew the curd with you a little bit. I've been told that that's a very Caucasian statement, and I embrace it. My family does come from Texas, so we do have some Southern roots to us. So
that's fine. Chewing the curd, chewing the fat, whatever the case may be. You're chewing something. So
you're chewing something. At least you're eating, right?
Yeah, at least you're eating, right. Eating, you're getting fed. It's the whole nine. It works.
So I wanted to talk first about this movie right here.
All right, let's go.
So I know that I watch a movie and sometimes I might read a little too much into it. And so when I watch Frozen, I see it as a coming out story
Hmm.
of Elsa. So in the first movie, she knows who she is, but her parents tell her that it's wrong. And so they put her in the closet. And so at the end of the movie, she's like, "Nah, I'm good." And she's accepted who she is, but she doesn't really come out until the second movie.
Right.
And the reason I say that is the campfire scene where she's singing with the other woman. There was a little bit of intimacy in that scene that
Hmm.
you don't see with other characters.
Right. Right. I can
So,
agree. I can agree. Everything you just said, I can agree with. When you put it in that context, I had never thought of it that way. Uh, in that first movie, I always seen it as she's just accepting who she is, in terms of she has this ability, and people have been telling her she's living it. This is not, you should not be exposing this ability to the world. You could be dangerous. You're this, you're that, whatever. By the second movie, she's already accepted who she is. Now the world has to accept who she is. And when you put it in the context of her coming out, different context now. You're just
right,
like, when you look at it's a different message now. You're just like, now you have to go back and realize, oh wow, she's really coming into her own. And everyone else around her is either fearing her or telling to hide herself, except her sister, who
except your sister.
just is really accepting of her, period. She's just like, I love who you are. That means nothing. Don't you want to be here? Don't you want to do this? you know there's this whole thing. And when you put it in that form, it takes on a whole new meaning. You see, people, this is why you watch movies more than once.
And you get a different vibe every time. It's not necessarily that I pick up that every time. Sometimes it's Anna that I'm focused on, because if you look at it, especially right now with everybody being so focused on mental health, she is a catalyst for it, because in the first movie she was isolated outside of her control.
Hmm.
She was still she still had love, you know, but it wasn't the kind that she needed. So she was in isolation. And then in the second movie, she spends the whole time realizing she didn't need all of these people to begin with. She was okay on her own. They're just a bonus or fancy parsley for,
Yes. It's fancy parsley. Oh, I do love that. Yeah, I agree. She didn't need everyone else's validation.
right.
She just needed to validate herself. So
And she had
once
this amazing love story too.
Yes, exactly. So once she realizes that she's okay with herself, that she's okay with who she is, that whether love it or hate it, she's here. She was fine.
And just because I am a girl and I am addicted to love, let's talk about Krista.
Once one other person who was actually like acceptance. He's a form of acceptance. He didn't judge neither one of those women. He was
Not
just like,
only he'd never experienced love before. I mean, he had it from the trolls,
yeah.
but he had never had that intimate kind of love with a human before. And
Hmm.
so the growth that he had to go into just in the first movie, and the fact that he asked her to kiss her,
Yeah.
it's just that those little gentleman type things that add to the character of the man. And then in the second one, he himself realized, hey, I'm that man.
Yeah.
Like, I got this,
Yeah, we go through that. We go through that.
And he like threw her up on Sven and he took off. He was gonna get her to that mountain.
Yeah.
And he showed up right in time. And it was just that symbolism for me that love is magic.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had no idea she was there, but he showed up for her.
Yeah.
That's what love is. And so that's another message I pull from this movie.
I like that. I like that when it's put that way because he does have that form of. She gave him a new. Not only did he experience an intimate type of love, he experienced a certain type of confidence that she instilled in him.
Mhm.
That allowed him to say. That allowed him to experience the self confidence to say, "Okay, let's get you to your sister. Let's help her out. Because I care about her too." He said, "But let's get you there. Let's get you there."
No judgment. He never asked a question. Just I'm there.
No, sister needed help. Let's go.
And I just there's so many amazing facets to this movie. And like I said, even Olaf, his acceptance of he was oblivious to who he was when he came into the movie.
He's just about freedom. He's just like, just live.
To love, and he believes in you and he's willing to melt for you.
Yeah. The fact that he was just like, I'm exposing myself to something that could be very potentially dangerous to me. Yet you never know until you try.
Right. I want to be the Olaf to this group. I'm willing to melt, for our community, within reason, obviously. But that's the kind of commitment that we're missing right now in the world. And so I think that's why I like to look to these movies, because if there's people who are willing to imagine it, there's people willing to believe in it.
Right.
So, it's like, it's really amazing.
Dope.
So, see, I told you I can blurt out a little bit.
And it's okay. That's what I look for. I thrive on that.
So, of course, I did already tell you what the trick up my sleeve was. I did tag you in it, but if you didn't see it, buoy on you. But I think let's switch it up a little. Let's get controversial. Are you ready? Let's get controversial.
Ooh, Zootopia. All the messages that this movie gave off in so many ways. In so many
when
ways.
A bunny calls other bunnies cute, but if anybody else does it, if that's not an N-word, big, I don't know what is.
This is a movie. Now, I'll be honest. Out of all the Disney type movies like they've been doing within the past, I don't know what, 15, 20 years maybe, this is probably one of my favorites. This is probably one of my favorites because it's a fun movie. Number one, they're always fun, but this is a fun one. But the fact that it does a deep dive and you're still on the surface.
Like I haven't even got to every character yet.
Yeah.
Just in Hops and just alone. Like I can't.
You have the inwards perspective. You have trying to be accepted into other circles, proving yourself. It's just
that sometimes the prey is actually
the hunter. Yeah, sometimes the prey is actually the hunter. Yeah, it's
actually the hunter. The way it just touched on that, and the fact that these are two people who were not supposed to be friends, who love each other. He had her in his mouth,
and he realized
no time didn't want to bite her.
Yeah,
that's love.
Yeah,
that's love.
Yeah, I think it shocked her. She was like, "What?"
I think it shocked,
but it is this. And side note, I'm glad they're doing a sequel. Because it's a great story. It really is.
I am really big on the sloth being pulled over for speeding. If that is not a beautiful piece of cinematic writing, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And the reason being is just because your position in life has you right here doesn't mean that you still can't get to where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to adapt. And one of the things I've even done here in my little office that I have started to create is my camera. I'm like, adapt to your environment. Don't try to adapt your environment to you. And
Yeah.
so it's just a matter of switching the camera a little bit so you don't see certain cracks in the, to see the back of the house for lighting purposes or whatever, and it's for movies like this, honestly, it makes you think of different ways to do life. I think
Yeah.
my kids are like, Mom, I would never have thought of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, me and Jimmy, we've been rigging it since I was a kid, you know? So, and not even that, the
Yeah.
parents, they were so afraid of wolves and foxes and just more foxes. But,
Yeah.
then they hired one
Yeah. Yeah.
because they recognized that they were being unfair. If that's not a
It's an
turnaround
allegory.
story,
It's a whole allegory for it's an allegory what we do in life, which is very funny when people say, "Oh, I love this," or "I love the X-Men," and but then you deal with racism and bigotry and isolation of different groups. And so
right?
here once again you have a movie who has all these different groups, all these different uh nationalities, all these different animal groups that have different lives, and they have this misconception in their head that what do you mean you can't live or work with or be friends with or be partners with a
Right.
quote unquote predator, or you're the prey, or whatever. What is the dividing line? What caused that dividing line? And it was just,
And the
this is
stereotypes
why I like,
they
yeah,
make fun
all
of.
the stereotypes,
The timber,
all
the
the
timber,
stereotypes.
those could be associated to like the lunkheads, right? Oh, I bet
Yeah.
you they're gonna howl.
Yeah.
They're, and I just, it's just, you can associate it to a stereotype. And although I don't, I try to break away from that. My deconstructed goddess is who is really sitting in the chair.
Hmm.
Um, I've tried to break away from stereotypes, but society has led us to believe that they're gonna howl. Look, they see the moon. I bet you they're gonna howl. And
Yeah.
then one howls, and then they all follow suit. So then we're like, oh, see, told you.
Yeah.
But no, we set them up for that to happen and then held them accountable for the action that we created. It's
It's
I
there.
don't like those hypocrisies. And so I struggle with that a lot.
Hmm.
And this is a level of depth that you don't get to talk to with a lot of people because a lot of people aren't, they're just enjoying the cinematic cartoons on the screen.
Right.
I'm like, no, I am supposed to be learning a lesson so I can unravel my spaghetti and I can have my lady in the tramp moment and I can kiss myself because that's the analogy I use in my healing
Hmm.
is I'm looking for my lady in the tramp moments where I get to kiss myself because I've unraveled that knot and I've released that trauma.
Yeah. I mean,
And
to speak on those stereotypes and to speak on all those things that, and I spoke about it before, that a lot of these Disney films that talk about, these surface stories, where oh, let's take the kids to go see this, and then you're finding out that you become a part of that story. You're already a part of the story. Your lesson is being taught to you as well. And I think kids are more receptive to it.
right.
They're definitely more receptive to it opposed to an adult who has quote unquote live that life of isolation, of separation, of stereotypical tropes. When it was like, but it's all so simple because look at this kid who
Right.
understands it and addresses it in a way as only a kid could.
And she stood up in the bully's face, and you could see her fear, but she didn't
Hmm.
let that stop her.
Right, right,
And
right.
we're not encouraging anybody to do anything, reckless to get
Get a point of ours.
scratches. We don't want any foxes to scratch anybody's faces.
Right.
Um, but the message in itself is don't allow others' expectations or limitations of themselves put limitations on you.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that I've really been trying to implement for self. So, I do take a lot of this stuff and I really do sit and I'm like, yeah, no, well, I don't want to be crying in Canto like I just lost a cousin's goldfish. I just want to watch a movie and not be around or know people who call snorks water smurfs. But
Was not the first time I've heard that.
I was like, I told DC, if you ever call them that
The
again,
water.
if you
Submerged
ever call,
underwater.
they are not anywhere close to a smurf. They have color, you ninny. They, and a breathing tube out of their head. You don't calm all that down. But yes, Zootopia is definitely one of those movies that I watch for my own personal self sometimes. Um, but not as much as I watch this next one. And you'll see why.
Ooh,
Soul.
this is an underrated one.
This is an amazingly put
Yes.
together movie. I have some issues. Like,
Hmm.
why bring up the woman and then we don't get to see her character? Like, what point was that bringing her up a couple of times? Because that's a teaser.
Hmm.
So, but that's my own blurred coming out. Like, there's some plot holes that I wasn't filling.
Yes, yes. You wanted you were just like, I feel like it's not complete. You know.
He walks out the door at the end. Like, no. Like, I mean, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But can you walk out to her?
Yeah.
What happened? What happened to the soul once it got to Earth? I want to see a number two, a soul two, where they find each other in this life.
Yes. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome. But plot twist, it's the kid is the kid of the woman he has a thing for.
Mm.
And they don't realize it at first until there's like a falling leaf. And
Hmm.
that's what triggers the memory.
Yeah.
And
This
then
was a
they're
good
like,
one. This was a good movie. This was a really good
ah,
movie. Um,
this is amazing.
even the representation, because the barbershop scene alone, and I'm like, we, oh, you've done your homework. Like this is good. But I mean, even the music, um, touching on certain tropes that really speak to your spirit. You know how he moved through life, how he thought he should have moved through life, and how he's actually moving through quote unquote life or afterlife, however you want to address it.
This
So,
played a part in my healing, I will be honest, because it does make you realize. And I had a moment with Savage humbly. Humbly savage.
Yeah.
I keep mixing it around. I apologize.
Savagely
I
humble. Yeah.
savage. But where we were kind of talking along this line too, and it's just really important that we give ourselves those avenues to be humble, to
Mhm.
have humility, because if we don't, we're going to miss the carnation because we're looking for the rose.
Just watching how everything unfolded for him,
Yes.
and the fast pace that he was going through, because he felt like, I have to be here. I have to be here. And you're missing your path opposed to the destination. You're like,
And then he
there's
got there.
yeah,
He was like, there's nothing here,
yes,
you know?
yes.
And that, the line that the jazz woman says, I partake in a few activities, so I can't recall it, but basically it's saying that this person spent their whole life trying to get to the ocean, not realizing that they had always been swimming in it,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, and that is, if that doesn't slap you in the face,
Hmm.
you know, make
It does it, like I said, it does a thing. There's this thing, and when you watch this movie, and like I said, when you watch this movie and you see how he wants to be this great thing, and like, my guy, you were already there, but you were such in a rush to get to where you thought you needed to be that
and
you
it was
missed everything.
against
Yeah.
his mom's wishes. So he
Yeah.
had that internal conflict too, because he felt like he was letting his mom down.
Hmm.
But he was chasing the same dream his dad had, and somehow that was bad, and so he felt like he had to hide it. He had a lot of emotional trauma too, and
Yeah.
he's really
Yeah.
talking about the healing journey that he himself had to go on. And it wasn't until he sat down and he looked and he was like, these useless items
This meant
hold
nothing.
the deepest memories, and it's like the what he was chasing, like you said, didn't mean anything.
Right. Right.
And so he's sitting in front of what he presumed to be his dream his whole life, and he's upset over a freaking leaf.
Yeah. Yeah.
A used sucker. There's these things like irrelevant things that hold no true value, but have become the most valuable pieces of thing that he owns.
Hmm.
And so there's such a amazing healing piece to this movie too, if you're willing to be open to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Soul's a good one. Disney
So it
Pixar movies are really, they're nail on the head type movies. They just when you can really look at what the story is and correlate it to your own life or someone that might be going through something, or that something you've gone through, when you see it, you realize, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I
you are
came
perfect segueist.
in.
I'm just gonna say it. Like, can I just bottle you and just keep you? Because I would like to show you what our next one is.
Okay, let's do it. Ooh wee. First off, the boy band has a very catchy song. It's just
I
a
hated
very
how much I loved the song.
I'm like, I should not be into this, but it works. Uh this is a
Yes,
Turning
yes.
Red is
I
a
hated how
very,
much I actually really loved the song too.
I'm like, who did this? That's a great job. I hate that it's a great job.
You're just so frustrated because you're like, this is the dumbest song. But it's that beat,
Yeah, it does.
it's the beat.
It's every bit 90s. I swear to God. It was like, oh, you just gonna tap into that, aren't you? I see what you did.
Yes, you have to. If you're not tapping your feet when you're listening to that song, we have a different show for you to be on. But so for me, I saw this as a stepping into oneself. I took
Hmm.
gender out.
Okay. Okay.
So it's stepping into oneself. So it's puberty, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It is associated to puberty. However, the dynamic that I took it from was the parents feel they have to fit in now because they have responsibility. And so when they hit puberty, they let go of their inner child.
Yes.
She was like, F that noise. I can be both my inner child because that's where I have all my fun and still be responsible. So she was setting a standard that was met. And that's why the mom reacted so angry,
Yeah.
is
Oh,
because
it bothered
she
me. She
didn't
did that.
have the courage to do that herself. And so, in a sense, she didn't want her daughter to have it. You can't have it, so neither can I. It's not until you risk losing everything that you realize what you thought was important isn't.
Yeah. Stay out my head, goddess. That's how I looked at, once again, a lot of people would attribute it to the gender thing. And yes, it works for that. But in the same breath, it does work across the board, letting go of your childhood and
Right,
coming into this adulthood thing. And it really did bother me that her mother was so angry because I was getting that feedback of, you have to do this. You have to do this because I did it and your ancestors did it. And you have to do it. And it was like, why does she have to do this? Her daughter was setting boundaries
right,
of saying, look, I can still do this and achieve that goal and still live life and be happy.
right,
You're pushing me into this pit that I will essentially be as bitter as you are right now.
right. And so I'm going to reveal a little bit of why this one personally hit me, because my daughter had a daughter
Hmm.
at 15. And so by society, the first thing I did, I was ready to ship her out of the state, this, that, and everything. I just reacted. And that wasn't fair to her,
Hmm.
And so I also recognize that she's not mature enough to be a mom right now. That's not an insult to my daughter.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
just
I
she was 15. She was
recognize
15.
that for it's best if I raise the baby.
Hmm.
And so that's what I do, is I raise the baby while my daughter figures out who she needs to be, because in essence she didn't get to be a child. And even blame myself a little bit further because I was going through my own trauma, granted, but that's not an excuse. I was so afraid of everybody else that I held on to my kids so tight
Hmm.
that they never went anywhere. And it was because I was raised in a violent home. So I know what can happen in a home. So to trust somebody with my kid, I just couldn't do that. Like, that was a very overwhelming fear.
Hmm.
And so this movie really hit home for me because it really kind of put that ice in the heart that was just, I was the mom. I
Yeah.
was that, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I was also being a hypocrite because I in no way was doing what or had done anything I was expecting of them to do.
Right. I think we all have been that down that road at some point in life. And when I look back, especially with this movie, I look back at it as it's a story about transition.
Right,
From childhood to being a teenager, from a teenager being a full grown adult, and it can go on. It can go on because there are different stages in our lives that we enter into that you realize, okay, I'm becoming a new person, or I'm adding another part of myself to myself, if that makes sense.
And
And
if
it was like when, even now, when you hear people, the conversation I hear a lot, oh, when they turn 18, move out. Yes, but just because by law that says they're an adult, are they really an adult? Can they really adjust to that adult life of paying bills, paying taxes, credit, and college, and just the whole nine? And they're still finding themselves. Yes, they may work a job,
right,
but they're still finding themselves. They don't know what a career is just yet. They don't know what it is to find true love, or just having acceptance. Going back to Frozen, f- that acceptance of
right.
who they are and who they're growing up to be. They may not be what you want them to be, because they're trying to find themselves. And that's a stage that everyone goes through
And
from.
it took a lot, I'll be honest, it took a lot for me to recognize that I was holding them accountable for my expectations.
Mm,
And it wasn't fair. And but it takes humility again. You have to be willing to sit, and I actually told them, okay guys, tell me everything I did wrong. And they did. And I didn't take it well.
and criticism is a hard pill to swallow.
But I did it. I did start trying to implement what they said. I tell them I'm probably not going to react right good here because
Mhm.
I'm human and my feelings are involved and it's emotional. However, once I start to process and I start to analyze and I'm able to pick it apart, you guys were valid in what you stated.
Yeah.
And I think this movie does provide an opportunity for parents if they utilize it. Of granted, my personal opinion, but as a way to open doors to communication. Because if you look at the mom at the end, she tapped into that fun piece of her
Yeah.
and she liked it. Not enough to keep it full time, but
Hmm.
she embraced her inner child and kept the energy. Just
Yes.
not enough to entertain the child every day because she said a woman's old. I need to. I
Yeah.
need.
Right.
And everybody put this ridiculous, ugly connotation on periods in it. And I can see where it goes because women tend to be a little bit more emotional
Hmm.
one time of a month. But respectfully, men are also emotional one time of the month. And
Truth be
so
told, that is true.
that's why
That
I
is true.
just took gender out of it. It wasn't I didn't care about the sanitary napkins. And if the mom assumes that you've started your period, she's gonna be overprotective and be like, hey, you want innies or outies? We got you.
We see that form of it all the time. It's a commercial I recently just seen where the mom is trying to talk to the daughter. The daughter's in the bathroom and she's sitting down, and she's generally trying to talk to her and try to guide her through it, but her daughter is so, one, embarrassed, two, overwhelmed, that
Mhm.
the older sister comes in and guides the mom out and has a very frank, straightforward statement. Hey, try this out, do this, tell me what you think, blah blah blah, good times, and walks out the room. And it got the point across because she wasn't overbearing, she wasn't overwhelming with the information. She just said, she pretty much said in so many words, I know what you're going through, been there before, this is how you deal with it, walk this out. Sometimes ripping the band-aid off and walking through that pain is better than slowly peeling it a piece at a time and dealing with a long-term form of it.
And sometimes there's some people who can walk through the wound for you and you never have to feel it.
Hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people might be missing the true message within it is we miss a lot because we're so conditioned to be a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, if we were more inclined to be, I said, kind of like Little House on the Prairie type vibe in a modernized world. And it's that trust aspect, not that we're going to be sitting on everybody's porches. Like, we need some distance. But if you have something I need, like your experience with StreamYard is
Mhm.
more than mine. So I would barter. I've got, whatever I've got. Hey, what
Mhm.
if I give this to you? Maybe I can get 30 minutes of your time. You can give me some pointers,
Right.
so then that way you don't feel like I'm taking advantage of you. And then it's a true exchange, and it builds a better network,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I'm trying to introduce through myself. And I find, I'm going to be honest, I oversell myself. I try to oversell myself because I am fighting through so much bullshit.
Yeah. Like my dad says, if you want $5, ask for 10. You know,
Right.
so oversell yourself. Oversell yourself that way you can find your medium, and you're okay. And
Yeah.
then like okay, if I say I can do this, but I meet it here, they're not expecting me to hit that. That's just something they noticed, and they're like, oh, this person can do this. So their basic might just be the medium, and you're still meeting over the goal. So for what they
Right.
expect. So hey.
Yeah. So, and like for me, my goal every time I post is to reach one person.
Mhm.
So if I get 2 likes, I have met my quota.
Yeah, you mentioned
So
job is done. I can do. Good night,
I
everybody. I'll be here the rest of the week. Uh,
exactly, and that's kind of what I strive for, is just having that kind of space to do that,
mhm.
because that's what's gonna matter. And it doesn't, I call myself a seasoned person, because you know you might not need anything that I can offer in 6 months. I might just be here right now to offer uh attention, because I'm really good at capturing it. I'm
Right.
really good at posting all the time and tagging everybody, so that way they can be pulled into different rhythms and stuff. It's all intentional. I'm not trying to be anybody's friend. We don't have to kick it on a Sunday. It's just, that's what we should be doing as a
Mhm.
community. And there's is there a way to pause the recording?
No, they haven't gotten that feature just yet.
So if I
Uh,
stop this really quick, I'm sorry. I have a full bladder and I'm old.
oh, you know what? I can run the show. You can just like if you hit the mute button and the
Stop.
stop camera, it'll still record. I can just talk about without whatever. I have that gift. I have that gift. So Chris Fury here. As you see, we're here on Unhinged while healing out. We're on Healing Out Loud. Thank you for that. We're on Healing Out Loud. I am with Goddess. This is a dope conversation. So if you guys are inclined, be sure when she premieres the show to like, share, subscribe, all those great things. Also, you can check me out. Blur's Eye View. Chris Fury, Man on the Wall. That's the man. I talk about geek topics. I talk about entertainment news, and we talk about it from a POC point of view or perspective. I also help showcase many other POC creatives that's out here. Conversation that we're having today is a very deep conversation. It's a conversation that I've myself have seen and been a part of throughout social media, throughout just different conversations with people in I guess when you want to say reality. Um, when you talk about a lot of the Disney films, particularly the ones that offer that's like done now, the CGIs, the Pixar's, the Monster Inc., the Incredibles, Frozen 1 and 2. These movies are offering um just it's not just story on the surface. It's story that correlates with your life, if that makes sense. If you've noticed already, we've talked about what, three films? So one, two, three, four films. And it's one of those things where, yes, it's drawn in. It's much like comics. It's drawn in where you'll get a child's attention or a young person's attention, but at the same time, there's a message underneath that surface. It's very layered. If you have to know exactly what it is that you're looking for, and once you find it, you'll realize that not only will your child have an answer to certain things, but you might have the same answers as well, or better. And we're back with Goddess.
We are, and I just want to thank you for some amazing sound clips for my teasers, because that's what I'm going to be using that for. That
See,
was
I am a ball of information and useful at that.
I have reached the age that it gets to danger Will Robinson really fast.
You're preaching to the
And
choir. You're like, oh, I had 3 bottles of water. I think I need to
well,
go
and I
and
got this cup
evacuate the
because
chambers.
I'm always so thirsty.
Mm.
But I'll be honest with you. I have been in the car when that sensation hits, and I have lost myself in my car. And I was like, you know what? I'm not embarrassed. This is my car.
Oh my god! I seen a video the other day, and a woman who had drank some chocolate milk at the job regretted it. And so she's trying to get home, and she's smoking her cigarette, and I don't know who she's in the car with, but she's like, "Turn that off. There's too much." It's like, because she has to go that bad, and she was like, "Every other day, these people are speeding, and today they not." It's like they just in the way.
I'm telling you, and that is the way it happens. And usually, you can, I'm gonna let you know, I'm a fully transparent woman. There's sometimes you can push down into it, and you can get your bladder to be like, okay, we're calm,
Yeah,
we're calm.
like, chill out. Think baseball. Fifth
But
inning.
I've lost over 100 pounds, so I don't sit the same way that I used to sit. So
Mhm.
I've been, yeah, there's no Kegel, there's no nothing. It's just, if I don't have that right leverage, I have to evacuate just some of it, release the valves, the geysers, whatever you want to say, just enough to tap it off.
Yeah. Like, okay, don't sneeze, don't cough, don't
Now
laugh
I
too
just
loud.
gotta make it home,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, trust me, I know that feeling. Like, I came in today barreling through the doorway. Who's in the bathroom? Me. I need to get in there. You just drying your hair. I need to get in there.
Please exit the facility.
Yeah,
So
right.
I have my own bathroom, so I have a half bath in my master bedroom,
Whew.
and the kids
Bless
have
your
their
heart. Bless your heart.
But it's really funny. Like, the front bathroom is decent. My kids, they're kids,
Yeah.
but I will still run past the front bathroom
that
to my bathroom. And I'm like, Bish, you could have already
ain't it. That ain't what you need. That ain't what you want.
No,
I'm like this.
it starts affecting different body parts. It's
Yeah.
just, it's like your system starts to shut down and other things want to start emptying and feeling full. No, stop it.
You saved the time for that. Like, this is not what we here for.
Literally
Oh,
knock your shit off. Like,
that's the human body for you. Lord of mercy.
I cannot even begin to tell you how annoying that is.
And we all go through it. That's the thing.
So, the last movie I have for you, I definitely jumped off the track here.
Oh, you're fine.
And And the reason I jumped off the track here is because it is a real life going on right now situation. And
Mhm.
I want to see if you see it the same way I do, even if it's not the same plot line.
Okay.
I want to see if you can be in the same theater. So let's see.
Ooh, a timeless classic, The Lorax. Yeah.
Big Government is written
Yeah.
all
Oh
through.
yeah. Reading this as a kid, you don't pick up on it. Seeing it as an adult, it's all in your face.
He's like, I am bottling air and I need you to stop because I need to bottle air.
Definitely big government talk.
Like, bro, like, what is really, really going on?
Right.
And I, for me, it's inspirational too. So I am going to tell you, I am probably going to be like, I told you I fangirl over you all the time. You're
Thank you.
you're the Papa Bear, you're Papa Bear of the blurred world. There's sometimes I do come into your show. I can't get into the nerd stuff a lot, blurred stuff, nerd stuff. I'm a equal artist.
We bring, but we bring you in. The tape, the door is open for all those.
Yes.
It's like a
And
place. The
you know
door is
what?
open
I
for all who
I
wants to enter.
actually encourage a lot of those cross jumpings because I really do feel that the conversation that you have on the show is not a blurred conversation. You do have comic aspects. You do have a lot of love for the Star Wars,
Yeah.
thing. And it's cute. You and Lady Mandalorian. I
Yeah.
probably said that wrong, and I apologize. But the love you guys have for the genre is very addictive.
Hmm.
And so when I'm watching your show, I'm really drawn in. And it's a lot to do with the dynamic of the back and forth. Um, but it really is just how you carry the conversation. And it doesn't matter what it is, like just in the Lorax, we can true to life situation this. And that's kind of what you do with your show. You know, there's always
Thank
some
you.
there's always some real element to it, and you're a very big proponent for people of color, which is something that, I champion as well. I'm an equalist.
Hmm.
So I champion everybody. I like I said, I'm not a racist. I hate them all equally. You know, I just I and I say that in jest, of course, but I just, your show does offer that different 360 type of experience because I do feel that the nerd community has a bad rap all the way around, and a lot of it
Hmm.
has to do with Comic Cons.
Hmm.
And that's because those are where they get to be a little bit more free,
Hmm.
and society is not as open to you being free. I
Right.
don't feel that there's anything wrong with the Comic Con. Just as any other religion, there are some extremists, you know.
There's that. There's
But if you
definitely that.
truly think about it, the comic world is a form of religion, and it's not to take away from any other facet of what somebody believes in, but they take this very serious. This is a part of who they are, and they become the person. So
Yeah.
it's not, if they change who they are doing a cosplay on, they embody that person. So it becomes a religion of sorts. And I do feel that society doesn't give them that freedom. And it doesn't give the
Exactly.
word community that freedom to embrace your inner whatever it is.
Hmm.
If you want to build a campfire with pop rocks, go at it.
Yeah.
I'll bring the water. We got this.
Yeah. Somebody's got your back. It is.
And I do feel that from your show, and I think that's kind of where I did piggyback over to Lady Mandalorian because of the dynamic on your show. And I definitely am in that where it's easy to catch me.
Yeah.
I definitely want to have you back again because I want to talk Marvel. Like, I've watched them all out of order.
I will tell
Um,
you this. I will tell you this. Because much like the Disney films we're discussing tonight, a lot of stuff that is in the blurred and nerd community, Star Wars, Star Trek, anime, Marvel, DC, Image, you name it, there is a level of realism that most people won't expect. I've consistently heard the argument of I don't like politics in my comic books. I've heard that before, and I'm like, I said, but you read Captain America, correct? Yes.
but yeah,
First issue, very first issue. What is he doing? He's punching out Hitler. Hello?
and I think it's because it's not as in their face, and a lot of people don't want to do anything more than just surface appreciate something, and that is an
Yes.
encouraged art form.
Hmm.
I personally do not have that superpower.
I've been told that I can take just about any genre that's in the nerd community and literally correlate it. Say, hey, look at this.
Paw
Look at
Patrol,
this. Paw Patrol, all of it.
Paw
I
Patrol.
can I can I can take it and show you and
When the
literally show
Yellow Bright
you.
Rebel, when
Yeah,
he was accepted, and I cried.
yeah.
I was like, oh my god, he's got family. Like, no,
It
I am
happens.
that kind of
I can do that. And I don't. I guess it is. I have a gift that I've been told, and over the past couple of years, I've been learning to accept. I have a gift of seeing the chinks in armor, to plan ahead, to see the puzzle pieces before they form. And when I look at things from a certain perspective because I see people get irate. I see people get upset. I see people get over the most insane things, most of all. Um, and I said, is it really that serious? I see people argue on social media. Why are you arguing again? It's
Do you know one of the
you
biggest things I am an advocate for? I've said it many times that love is magic. And it's because my ex boyfriend is a recovering narcissist.
mm-hmm.
And it was love that brought him out of that place.
Narcissism. Yeah.
And that's why I tell people I believe that a narcissist can change because I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, there's textbooks, there's this, and I was like, really? Because your textbook says that there should be flying ships right now too. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there's a
There's
lot
thing.
of
There's
things
thing.
that, but
there's a lot of things that they don't like. Okay, perfect example. Uh I seen an artist rendition of the Marvels, which is the new movie, Marvel movie that's coming out with Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and I want to say she's going by Photon. I might be wrong, but it's Monica Rambeau. Great, great artist poster and everything else. And instead of the conversation saying, "Oh, who's the artist? This looks great," blah blah blah. I can't wait for this movie to come out. Blah, 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 blah. It becomes, oh, this is going to be the least like Marvel movie. Oh, and then it turns into like, why is it going to be the least like Marvel movie? Because it's woman led, or because they hate Brie Larson? And it just turned into this whole thing. I said, you took something that was meant for sheer appreciation in their art form, and you wanted to turn it to what you wanted it to be, and just made it worse. And it was just like, I'm like, this conversation is moot at this point.
But you know what? I'm not always going to be on your side. You,
Hmm.
your community does take things very personal.
They do.
There is no room for any kind of evolution of character change. If they had a mole in 1968, by gosh, in 2023, that mole better still be there. It better have
Yeah.
the same color brown. It might have the
Yep.
same dent. If not, we will revolt. We're canceling the series. You've ruined the whole thing.
It's bad. It's I'm not saying the blurred or nerd community isn't bad. I'm just saying that there's the groups.
There's extremists in every group.
Yeah, in every group. It doesn't matter how well intentioned you make it. They're there. There's going to be a bad apple in that bunch. It's just is. I work in the medical field, and I remember telling a woman I was training years ago. She was scared to talk to the nurses and scared to talk to some of the surgeons because she had a moment where a nurse basically barked at her, and when she told us who it wasn't just me who said it, but it was several of us who said, "Oh, she's just rude." However, these people are cool. And she's like, how do I know which ones to talk to? I said, think of it like this. If you have 10 surgeons, 10, if you have 5 doctors, 5 nurses, and out of each one of those groups, there's one surgeon who might be a dickhead. And you got one nurse who's just as much as a dickhead. Those are going to be ones that stand out to you. And you're going to
Mhm.
disregard the other 4 out of those groups because they're nice. They give out pizza parties. They know how to get their own stuff. They make it easy for you. They make your job easy for you. They know what they're looking for. They can guide you through something if you've never seen it before with no problem. But then that one doctor who has an attitude all the time, or that one nurse who has an attitude all the time, they're going to stand out to you, and it's going to make you fearful for the rest of them. I said it's the same thing in every group. In the nerd community, it's the same.
Right.
Star Wars is a prime example. People love Star Wars,
Religiously.
but then
Religious.
you have that sect of extremists who feel like Rey shouldn't be a Jedi. She wasn't Jedi trained, or why is this happening over here and not by the books? And I'm like, it doesn't need to be by
My
the
dad
books.
used to tell me all the time, it's a movie.
It's a movie. It's a franchise. It's a story being told that is literally meant for everyone.
Right. And but there's always people that just have to find a reason to be miserable.
Right.
And that's understandable. That's their thing. But
Even there were people that were mad at Grogu when they realized he used to be called the child. And but you find out second season his name is Grogu. And that's from the Mandalorian. And you're just like, oh, we want to call him the child. His name is Grogu. Respect his
so
name.
my daughter watches this cartoon called Beam.
Okay.
And I believe that it's kind of a play off of the guy that has the arrow on his head. Mind
Uh, his name is escaping me right now, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
this young baby just has all these powers. It's not like magic. He's just
Hmm.
really strong, and it's just, and I could be wrong, but for me, I made the correlation.
Hmm.
You know, the baby has hair and this person doesn't. So I
Yeah.
don't know why, but to me, hair loss happens all the time. So who am I to, you know, um,
this is the thing. And when I created Blurred's Eye View, because I am a lifelong blurred. I didn't know I was a blurred until maybe 10 years ago, but
I
I've
didn't
been a
know
lifelong blurred.
I met
Yeah.
you.
Like when I sat down and actually spoke to somebody, and they's like, "Oh, you're a blurred." I'm like, "What is a blurred?" And they were like, "You're a black nerd." And I'm like, well, "What is that?" And she was like, "Well, you have an insane amount of knowledge. You've watched cartoons from the time you can remember. You've read comic books from the time that you could start reading. You have action figures. They're all across my office right now. You have this love for video games. You have this love for movies and television shows and cartoons and anime because they're fun and it's an escape of
That's a word.
realism to it. There's escape from realism to a degree that still allows me to say there's a simple way to solve certain issues if you look at it from this angle.
Right. I do appreciate it in that regard. And I teased when I was like, using the word fun is definitely a way to use a word as it relates to anime. I'm going to be honest. I'm into the naughty anime.
The hentai.
And the aggressiveness of it,
Hmm.
is just very attractive. I don't like the plot lines, you know. But if I were to have any kind of porn, I prefer hentai.
Yeah,
I prefer cartoon.
yeah,
Um, because then I can disassociate and just
kind
look
of
at the
soak it in. Yeah, and it's
you know.
fine.
But alas, that's a whole nother show and I don't need them anymore. So there's growth there too.
Yeah. I literally could wax poetic about a lot of the stuff that I'm into. And it's a reason why a lot of this stuff speaks to me. I can tell you why I love the X-Men. I can tell you why I love Batman. I could definitely tell you why I love Black Panther, and always have since I was 11. So
But to be fair, you also like Black Dynamite, you know.
there's the Black Dynamite, there's because it's a riff on black exploitation films of the 70s. Of course, it's comedy. So there's but you told me why, and I understand. I was like, you know what? Now that you explained it, I get it. So I don't give you no flack for it.
Because of the timing of it.
Yeah.
I think that it was pandering. It's definitely a pandering movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the further I try not to talk a lot of racial things because that
Right.
does cause people to get a little heated.
Intense. Yeah.
And I am in a unique vantage point because I am black and white. So I am seriously approaching things in this dualistic mindset. And a lot of it is miscommunication.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
it's
If
people
you
are saying the exact same thing and using a different dialect. And
Yes.
it is creating this mindset that I am not wrong. You're right. You're not wrong. I'm saying you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm using it in a language that makes sense to me
Mm-hmm.
and you're not accepting it. And so that's kind of where I am as far as spirituality and healing.
Yeah.
I will say spirit or I can say God. I recognize that I need to be interchangeable. It doesn't matter what I see.
Right.
I need to recognize my audience. So if I have a religious audience, they're going to be more comfortable to my message if I use the word God.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a disservice to me as a person. It's recognizing as a healer, I need to be able to reach a larger audience. So I need to adapt to the audience I'm trying to reach.
Right. I
And I
mean,
think
it's
that's
the same
where
thing.
people fail.
Yeah,
And
I think I see that a lot. I see that a lot, especially when the big conversation right now is with trans and Black lives, and they say, "Oh, we're fair to this," or I can't remember what senator said it, but he was using the X-Men as an example, and he ferociously bombed at what he was trying to prove because I like the X-Men. I'm like, do you? Because you're voting against allowing people to live their lives i.e., the X-Men, are just trying to live their lives.
I'm
So,
actually working to put together a show. It's going to be one of my first true pieces that falls outside of our typical podcast scene,
mhm,
you know, and it's called Trying to Record a New Song. And it's, I'm an ally for the trans community, but if you think about it, and I saw it on a TikTok, so I definitely can't take credit for it, but um, she was like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to record a new song too. All of us are. It's just some of us don't have the best equipment or the right equipment.
yeah.
And I was like, is that not a slap in the face? You know, and I really want to be able to offer that bridge in a non-threatening way. A lot of this can be dissipated and calmed if you have an adult at the table who can speak, you know, south. And I'm just speaking directional. I'm not
Yeah,
speaking country. You know, there's no
yeah,
country
yeah.
piece to this at all. But if, I can speak north and south, then I can hopefully speak it in a way that is less threatening. And I'm
Mhm.
not always the best with words either. You'll see that in a lot of my interviews. I'm going to flounder because I'm an empath. And if the person who's sitting in my chair is not receptive to my energy, I get a little shaky. I don't know
Yeah.
how to interact, because I'm pulling the whole time
Mhm.
and it makes it hard. Um, and it hasn't happened yet. But this is just in conversation. So imagine if I'm having an interview, you know, in this capacity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It happens. I've seen it happen. It's not a bad thing. It's just learning. It's learning how to pivot. I feel people out. You know.
And I can talk about myself like there's nobody's business. So if you say something, I can unfortunately relate it to me
Hmm.
in a story.
Yeah.
So if I just need those jump offs, but then I run the risk of people like this bitch never shuts up. She's all
Okay.
about herself. She is very conceited, and I am the opposite of. But again, different voice. I've got to be louder. And unfortunately, I have to be repetitive to break through.
That's something. Yes, that can happen. That's which is a good quality to have because when you were repetitive about it, they understand. They when you have that guard, I guess you could say that guard up, and you're repetitive about what it is you're speaking about, that's going to break them down to make them open themselves up. They're like, okay, is a mental thing, and they're going to realize, okay, she's stuck on this for a reason. She's stuck on this for a reason, and they're going to go from she's stuck on this for a reason to let's see if I can steer her away from this to she's stuck on this for a reason. I need to find out why.
And I
I
and
need
I
to,
would
or I
love
understand why.
if we could have more of those conversations, especially if you have an understanding of an empathic person,
Hmm.
because we are always aware of who sits in front of us. So we always try to find the most non-threatening words,
Yeah.
and the English language sucks. And
Hmm.
so I will have to go through about 10 different interpretations of the message I'm trying to relay because I have to find the right dialect of the person sitting in front of me.
Right.
And it does create a conflict because they do feel like if this girl doesn't stop, and I'm like, no, I just need you to understand, could be then I become obsessive.
Hmm.
And then and it's just this very bad, Pandora's box of,
I used to do like this part. I used to do like this kind of medical education for the field that I work in, and I used to have to go to different facilities and show them how to clean or pre-clean instruments before they send it off to the main hospital. And a lot of the people I was teaching had no background into what I actually do. So they didn't understand what it is I was doing. So along with my ex coworkers that I used to have, I used to say, think of it like a dishwasher. I said, you have a dishwasher, it's lasagna night. You're not going to put the plate directly in the dishwasher, are you? He's like, no. I said, what are you going to do with it? Pre-rinse it, rinse some of the stuff off, get all the gunk off. Exactly. That way your dishwasher doesn't work half as hard to clean what's on there. Because if you
Right.
don't, you can just slap it in there. Now this stuff is blowing around. Now it dries on your other stuff, and now it's hard, and it's like now everything's dirty again.
Yeah.
And once they found that out, because that's something I have a way, like I said earlier, I have a way of finding the pieces and
Yeah.
what makes them what people understand to say, okay, that makes more sense. I spoon feed it to them sometimes. Sometimes you have to spoon feed people for them to get it to understand. Not force feed doesn't work all the time, you know.
It doesn't. And you have to be able to be versatile. And I think that's where it's important for us as podcasters is we do have to have that adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that people are going to see my anger come out because when I get angry, I can't hide it. And then I become, it'd be like, you know what, I'm just done. End the show, because I can get a little bit in my delivery because I will have to prove a point to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm wanting to necessarily be right, but I will be damned if you tell me I'm wrong.
This is why I vet everybody that comes on the show. It's a multi-tiered thing for me. I'm glad to do it because I'm one of those guys that I'm one of those people that I need to know. It's fine that I might have somebody that I trust doing it for me, but I need that extra level of I need to know.
Right.
It's done in levels of business, it's done in levels of the government, it's done in levels of whatever you need, because that person still, you don't want to be the one that goes in there blind. A doctor never goes into a surgery not knowing what they're going in there to do.
See, I would like beg to differ because I can go and say that I had my daughter in 2000
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor came in after my cesarean section. He cut through how many layers of skin do we have to cut through? He walks into the recovery room and said, "All right, Tabitha.
Oh yeah,
Have
see,
a great day.
yeah, that's the wrong kind of doctor to have around you
My
because
name
you
is
didn't even get,
for those
yeah,
who don't know."
yeah, didn't get your name, didn't even say the right. Unlike me, the first time, I'm like, oh, I pronounced it wrong,
But
but
he did, in an essence, create a pet peeve
yeah,
because I, to this day, cannot stand being called Tabitha.
the
And when
fact
I
that
said,
the fact that it's so far from your actual name is
"Yeah, where'd you get the B from?" And it happened that there was a Tabitha and a Talitha at this place of employment, and we had the same last name, and we kept getting each other's emails.
so they not
I'm like,
where I can
y'all,
where I can see that happening at the same time. Pay
7 letters.
attention. Yeah, just pay attention. Pay
7 letters.
attention.
They saw 7 letters. I will have people be like, they'll send me an email and it's just my last name. I'm like, or I go by Tish. And I'm like, I give you 4 letters. You call me Tush. Okay.
So you're still getting it wrong.
Or
It's like
Tosh.
I'm making it easy for you, and you're still getting it wrong.
Yeah. So there is one last thing, my dear, that I want to do with you before we say goodbye.
No problem.
And that is put you into the goddess seat.
Oh, let's
And
do it.
so the goddess seat is where I just let you know how much I appreciate you.
Oh,
And just let you know, I let everybody know that I love them. I believe that love needs to be spread. Love is magic. So, by definition, I am magic. Do you want to see a
yes.
trick? um, and I just really appreciate what you're doing. I think the fact that you do have your own show, you're also co-hosting shows. You're working closely with Opulence Radio. Um, you guys are doing a lot of groundbreaking stuff for the podcast community, and I recognize that. And you're a key piece of that. And
Thank you.
so I just want to give you your flowers and say that as a newcomer, I see your statue being created. And, I appreciate you. And
Thank
so
you.
that is the goddess seat.
Um, uh, I'm beaming over here. Uh, so, it feels good when I give flowers to others because I'm a very big proponent of showcasing people of talent who don't get seen, or celebrating the people who are already here but don't get heard. Shout out to Queen Angela Bassett. Um,
No, I definitely want to help in that arena. And if
mhm,
you have somebody, you're like, hey, let's get them some more exposure.
yeah,
I'll put them on my calendar. I'm going to
yeah,
take you at your word and I'll put them on my calendar. We'll put them into my algorithm as well. I
yeah,
don't, this is all about community and getting people because there's somebody who needs to see it and everything is with intention.
right.
So I do believe that. So if somebody puts in front of you that you feel is going to need that additional attention, I don't mind putting them on here either.
Hey, I'm for it.
I think that's kind of what we need to establish is just that true
Right,
roots kind of
right.
community. So I am actually really excited because this has been my longest interview, and we probably could keep going, but I want to be respectful as you are
Yes.
coming on 10:30 now. Um, and so I want to give you some space to tell everybody where they can find you.
All right. If you are watching this, or when you watch this, or when you listen to this, you can follow me on Blurred's Eye View on IG. You'll find the link tree in the bio. It'll send you to all the great places you can find us, which is on Facebook, Opulence Radio, Always Press Record, which is through Roku and Amazon Fire, so you can see us on television as well.
I feel
You can,
attacked.
yeah, like you can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast, and you can also show your love on the YouTube channel. We're live every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. The Twitch handle is Blurred's Ivy One, and you can find us every Thursday at 9 p.m. on those same channels, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have great guests. We talk about great topics. We have a lot of fun, as Goddess has already stated. And it's a safe space. If you're a person of color who's a creative and you like talking about nerd stuff and entertainment, I'm the guy. I'm the man on the wall. I know it. I talk it. I live it. I breathe it. And as I state with all, like I state on my show, my sign off is remember to educate yourself and others, entertain yourself and others, and most of all, encourage yourself and others.
Beautiful. It's a really amazing show, and if you are not following him, make sure that you do because he is going to bring you in with that energy and just that amazing love he has for the genre. Um, and so I am going to close this off now. Chris, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you, Goddess.
This
Thank you.
has been an amazing time. I don't like to say interview because it definitely is not that. But,
Mhm.
I would love to we'll throw some more movies together and
Oh yeah, definitely.
let's make this a thing because I think that, it's a lot of fun. And to everybody else, thank you so much for waking up today. I love you. And as always, one day I'll get it all right. But as always, be nice. It's easy.
Yeah, yo. Soft words and harsh truths. You got issues, I got issues, we all